Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I got a question here from Brian about building an online business, and I've been kind of avoiding answering some of these questions, but after exchanging a couple of emails with Brian, I thought I would sort of give an answer of what I think you should do here, because I think it will benefit some of you. But before I get into that, there's a reason why I haven't been doing these kind of videos so much, basically videos about building an online business, and that's because I don't want to shortchange the subject. There's a lot on this subject. It's not something that is just to be lightly discussed, because there's a lot of in-depth and things that you have to know in order to be able to do this, to be successful at doing this. And so I've sort of held off doing this, but it's apparent from all the questions that I'm getting, a lot of people are asking me how to build a business sort of like I have. If you've been following me for a while, obviously right now I'm in San Diego. I'm going to be here for 2 months, and you probably know that I spent about 3.5 months in Europe last year traveling with my family. The year before we went to Hawaii for 2 months. So I get to travel around and live a pretty nice lifestyle and still make a pretty good amount of money doing that, and that's because of the online business that I've built here with Simple Programmer. So anyway, I know a lot of you have been asking, how do you do this? You want to do this yourself, and so I'm going to be putting together a course later this year that is going to show you exactly how to do that. I'm going to give you everything that I know about this and give you kind of the formula for success. Now, I don't want you to think this is going to be a get-rich-quick type of scheme here. It's not going to be any kind of magic bullet that's suddenly going to make you wealthy and have an online business that you don't have to do any work for. Obviously, I put a lot of work into Simple Programmer, but it is the fun kind of work now, mostly. But anyway, I am going to give you the steps. It's going to require hard work, but I'm going to give you the steps and show you how to do this, because so many people have been asking for that. So first of all, before I get into Brian's situation and start to answer his question, let me know if that's interesting to you. If you would like a course that's going to teach you how to build an online business, then put a comment below, and definitely upvote this video. And I'm kind of using this as a gauge. If I get enough interest, I will produce this course, and I will produce more videos, also free content as well. For some of you that I know can't afford the course, I'll still give you some tips here. But I want to know your interest level, so leave a comment below and let me know about it. Now, let's get into Brian's situation here. So Brian emailed me, and I'm not going to read the email because there's a lot. It's pretty long. But basically, Brian had been frustrated because he is trying to build an online business. He studied internet marketing for about 2 years, I think he said, and he didn't have very much success. He wanted some help. He said he'd follow any advice that I'd give him. I pointed him towards my coaching, which you can, I'll put a link here. If you are interested in one-on-one coaching with me, I don't advertise this very often because I really don't have the time, but I do, on a case-by-case basis, accept new applicants, and I do have a couple of openings. So if you're interested, click here and follow the instructions, and you can sign up. But anyway, so I offered that to Brian, but he doesn't really have the cash to do that right now. So I said, well, tell me what your story is. Let me see if I can point you in a couple of directions, give you a few pointers. And so Brian kind of detailed out his whole story, and like I said, I'm not going to read the whole email, but essentially what he did was he picked, I think, a market. I think his first market, he said, was wheatgrass. And he built up a site and built up some content and created an ebook about that and tried to sell that. And I think he paid for some leads, some traffic, and got people signed up on an email list, and that didn't work out. And then I think his next one was probably, there was a couple of them, but a World of Warcraft site, basically same type of thing, building up a site, looking for highly searched keywords. This is the kind of stuff that you typically hear from internet marketers telling you how to build a niche business site. And the thing is, it doesn't really work like that, right? It can work like that, but in general, I see this approach a lot, and a lot of people think that they can just build a site about some kind of thing and that they're suddenly going to make money from it. So that doesn't really work. So Brian kind of expressed his frustration here, and that he's ready to give up, and this is very frustrating. He's got some Facebook pages. He's trying a few different things. Keeps on going off. I think digital photography was one site that he has, and there's all these different sites targeting these keywords. And so here's what I'm going to tell you, Brian. Well, first of all, bravo. Learning this stuff for 2 years, you didn't waste your time, because you learned this knowledge that you have. I mean, just knowing these tactics and what you're trying to do, this is valuable. You're just missing one piece, and I'm going to tell you what that piece is in a minute here. And this is the piece that, by the way, I'll tell you a product I do have right now that's going to help you get this piece for those of you that are listening, but this is the piece that I'm really going to focus on for the course, the content that I'm going to create on building an entrepreneurial empire, building your own online business. But the piece that you're missing here is the audience, right? Is building the audience. And really what I would say here is that, okay, if you take this approach, this is the wrong approach to take, and no offense, Brian, but here's the thing. You're taking the approach of you're saying, okay, let me find keywords and search terms and popular stuff, and let me build some content for that and then sell something to that audience. And that makes sense logically, but it's not going to separate you from other people, and it's like the surface level of what seems to be correct. The piece that you're missing is the care, and this is going to sound a little bit silly, but it's caring about the audience. It's actually like getting in these people's heads, feeling what their problems are, and providing a solution for them. And so what you really need to do to be successful is that you need to connect with your audience. You need to figure out not the product that you need to build, not the content that you need to farm out, but really, who are you trying to serve? And you need to come in with an attitude of serving that audience, right? Again, I'll use my example here because I know it so well. With Simple Programmer, right, with these YouTube videos, with my blog, with everything that I'm creating, my goal is not necessarily to say, oh look, people search on C++, so I'm going to create content on C++ and sell them a product. Although I may do something like that, my overall goal is to provide value for software developers. I have a mission, which is to increase the value of a software developer's life, to make their lives better, to give them knowledge and wisdom and skills that are going to help them succeed in not just their careers, but in life. And because I have that bigger vision, and because that's who I'm trying to serve that audience, what ends up happening is I know where their pain is. I can connect with them, right? Now I'm a personality that people like, some people dislike. That's all right. But the people that like keep coming back and listening and watching more videos, right? And they're probably going to eventually buy my products, because if I'm giving you a bunch of value and you feel like I really care about you and I'm trying to do something to benefit you, then you're going to want more of that naturally, and that's where it has to come from. If you're coming from the analytical place, and I'm not saying that you got to have these cold skills as well, right? It doesn't make sense. I could be, a bleeding heart. I love everyone. I'm just trying to help the world, and I won't make any money because I don't have strategy. Brian, you've got the strategy part, right? You've been studying internet marketing. Great, that's awesome. You know how to create an email list. You know how to get people on the email list. You know how to send paid traffic to that email list, how to create content, create ebooks, all that stuff. Maybe even create a sales page and sell that product. That's great. But the piece that you're missing is that connection with that audience and building that rapport and getting people to actually be interested in, what are you offering them? What is the unique value? What are their problems? You have to know this audience and care for this audience. And then there's one other piece here. See, I see you bouncing around to all these different places, and that's common, right? A lot of people they think something's not working, so they move on, they try a different thing. It takes time and commitment, consistency, right? So over time, I think all of the ideas that you had could work. I think that they would work, in fact, but you didn't give it enough time. You didn't put in enough time. That's the other problem I see here, and that a lot of wannabe entrepreneurs make, is that they're not willing to. You got to look at the game plan, right? As a 5-year, as a 10-year investment. I mean, I don't care what you're doing. If you keep on producing content consistently, serving an audience, and you're thinking strategically, at least you have some kind of financial sense, you're going to be able to build a business and make some money if you do something for 10 years. Now, can we reduce that time? Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I think, but where the timeline that most people need to be looking at is 5 years. Can we do it sooner? I could show you some techniques, some secrets, some things I've discovered over time that can probably reduce that to 1 or 2 years. Probably, but not guaranteed, right? Maybe even 6 months. Some people can be, you can be in the right place at the right time and connect with the right audience. I've seen people blow up I'm going to do an interview with a guy, Arnie, who created a C++ blog, and he blew up in a year. Yeah, I mean, but he was dedicated, and he was in the right place at the right time as well. So that's the other piece that you're missing here, is you really have to look long term. If you're looking, when you go down this road, you need to be looking at, okay, I'm not going to make money perhaps the first year, or maybe I'm going to make a small amount, but I'm in this for the long haul. I'm in this for 5 years minimum is where you got to look. I tell people the same thing with real estate investment, because people want to make money quick. They want to buy a property and flip it, right? Flip it. Not no one, but most people can't make money that way. It's a risk. It's a gamble. But when you're looking long term, 10 years, 20 years, there's a lot of investments. There's a lot less wrong paths you can go. And that's the thing in life, right? Is when you try to do a short-term thing, if you're going wrong, right? Let's say that you're flying an airplane, right? And you're not very high off of the ground. If you steer wrong, you're going to crash real freaking quick, right? But if you're higher up, right, if you're thinking long term, then you can make errors, right? And it's not going to be fatal errors, right? You can turn to the left a little bit, go a little too low, a little too high, and you can course correct, right? Because you got a longer path, you got a longer runway, you got more air between you and the ground. If you're sitting here trying to make a 6-month plan with anything that you're trying to invest in, I'm sorry, but when you make a mistake, you're going to crash and burn, and that's not going to work. So think of the long term, think of the 5-year plan, think about your audience and creating value for them, and really caring about your audience, getting involved with them, and really knowing what their problems, their pain is. Think about building a community, building something more than just a factory. And you can automate the process later on, right? I mean, if you look at Simple Programmer, what I've been learning in the last couple of years is how to automate this. But it still requires me to some degree, and it still requires someone caring about the community and building something and having a vision. From there, then you can start doing the automation. And as you get better at building businesses, then maybe you can start with the automation. But for now, do things that don't scale. Just try and find some audience that you're going to serve and think about serving them for the long term. If you do that, you're going to be more successful. Again, this is just, I don't want to paint the picture that this is all you have to know. There's obviously a lot more to building a business, and to how do you engage the audience, and how do you build up a following, and how do you, have the kind of personality, or the kind of value, how do you provide the value that people care about and they want to follow. There's a whole bunch about that, and I'll cover that. And here's a product I promise you that can give you the first step, if that I have now. If you want to build an audience, it's called How to Market Yourself as a Software Developer. If you buy this course, I go through building a brand, right? And I talk about building an audience and how to get your name out there. And that can help you in your career if you're trying to just get a promotion, or you're trying to be a freelancer, but it can also help you as an entrepreneur, right? Because the thing is, most people get it backwards, and they try to create a product, and then they try to sell it and find their audience, and that doesn't work. What you really want to do if you want to be successful is you've got to build that audience first. That means building a brand. That means getting your name out there, or your company's name out there. That means figuring out the channels. How do you get your message out there and your brand? You got to get on podcasts. You got to be creating YouTube videos, perhaps. You can create books or blog content. So I covered all that in that course. It's called How to Market Yourself as a Software Developer. Again, it applies to anyone trying to build an audience. And in the advanced course that I'm going to be creating, assuming that you guys want it, and again, leave a comment below to let me know if you want this course. I'm going to cover much more in depth, much more than the surface level, and tell you exactly some step-by-step strategies that you can use to build an audience, to get your name out there, to build a brand, and to eventually create value in a product, and then to actually make money off of that, and build a business where you don't have to be there, where you can do like I did and go to Europe for 3.5 months and work 1 day a week. And that's, 4-hour work week. Some people say, oh, Tim Ferriss, blah, blah, blah. It's true. I mean, you're not going to be able to grow as rapidly. It's going to require hard work, and a lot of hard work up front. But once you put in that hard work, you can create quite a flexible system that can make you money and provide people a lot of value. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. Again, leave a comment if you're interested, and thumbs up the video so that I know that this is something that you want. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I will produce a few more of these before that course comes out, since there seems to be a lot of interest in entrepreneurship and building an online business like I've built. And so, and also don't forget to tune in for, I'm going to give you my story. I'm continuing that. You can check out the videos here where I'm starting to go through my story. I'm starting with my career, and then I'm going to be going through and talking about building the business as well, because that seems like people are interested in that. So anyway, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.